Hello friends, Axel here. So, a mere month and a half-ish after getting the Steam Deck OLED, I also have got a Framework 13 laptop, which is another thing that has long been on my wish list, and finally pulled the trigger on that. Now, some of you may be wondering, for those who follow Framework stuff, did I order this before or after the upcoming event was announced? And I did end up getting it the day after it was announced, because I decided, okay, the last event that they had like this back in 2023, everything they announced at said event was still months away from shipping anyway, and I figured I'm probably still going to be very happy with the Framework 13 as is. And so far, I absolutely have been. So this has basically replaced my desktop as my main computer, which I'm going to shift the camera over real quick. My desktop has been transplanted into this smaller case. It's a Fractal Design Node 202, and I left the motherboard and CPU that was already in that case. That used to be my secondary PC. So previously my desktop was a Ryzen 7 1700. What you're looking at right now has a Ryzen 5 1400. Eventually I plan to upgrade to like Ryzen 5000 or something, but you know, I'll get to that at some point when I get to it. But anyway, let's talk the framework. So I did end up getting it after that event was announced. I'm still very much looking forward to whatever they might announce at that event. But yeah, despite that coming up, I'm still very happy with the current iteration of the Framework 13. So I wound up going with the Core Ultra, Intel Core Ultra, instead of AMD. And, you know, AMD is generally considered like the best thing as far as Linux stuff, at least on like the desktop side and for gaming especially. And you know, the CPUs, AMD CPUs, definitely very good. The GPU side, AMD is fine if you're just gaming, but when you start looking into other like productivity tasks and stuff, kind of falls short, because ROCm, that's their official like compute runtime, the Radeon Open Compute stuff, that's very hit or miss with whether it'll actually work, and the official support for ROCm, official GPU support for that, is very, very limited. Meanwhile, on the Intel side, we have Intel Compute Runtime. Some of you may know I'm the developer of DaVincibox, and I can confirm DaVinci Resolve works perfectly fine on Intel integrated graphics with the Intel Compute Runtime. So we're just going to open up this real quick. I'm not going to do too much of a demo here of it, but like, okay, that was previously like maximized on this screen just fine. I don't know what's going on now. Okay, sometimes this fits the screen just fine. It's deciding not to right now. I don't know why, but either way, that's not really the point. Point being, integrated GPU, editing performance, timeline performance is fantastic on this. And let's go under Fusion real quick, because on the AMD side, Fusion tends to just be really crashy. It doesn't really work on the Intel iGPU here. It actually works totally fine. Even an integrated Intel GPU is working better with DaVinci Resolve on Linux. At least in my own testing. If you can get ROCm working, that'll probably work just about as well, but in my experience, it just doesn't work great. So with my particular hardware, Intel integrated GPU with Intel Compute Runtime is working a lot better than I've ever got AMD working, even on a dedicated graphics card. So yeah, and that being said, my previous video, that Cyberpunk 2077 on deck video, that was all done on that was all edited on my framework, and it worked just fine. Another nice thing with Intel Core Ultra, you benefit from Intel's just much better hardware encoding, because apparently with the 7000 series of AMD GPUs, which is not what I have, but if I were to look into that, and I think that's also basically the same as what you would get with like the iGPU on the AMD framework. Yeah, there's a resolution bug with their AV1 encoder, and just in general sounds like AMD's hardware encoding is just not up to par with Intel and NVIDIA. Meanwhile, on Intel, AV1 encoding, hardware accelerated AV1 encoding works just fine. If you don't know what AV1 even is, it's more relevant if you're into streaming and video stuff, especially the streaming side, because it's basically you can do lower bandwidth for equal or even better quality than H.264. So, yeah. Okay, it's basically great for streaming and also convenient for video stuff. So yeah, overall very happy with Intel on my framework here. And everything else is also kind of just worked. So I've had absolutely zero problems with this so far, so that's been quite fantastic. As for the other decisions I made here, I went with Core Ultra 5 125H, so not even the higher end, just Core Ultra 5, and it's been fantastic. I got 32 gigs of RAM, have a 2 terabyte Western Digital NVMe drive. It's all been working great. Everything has been super snappy. As for ports, I'm not going to close this all the way because we're recording audio on this, but you'll also see I have the red bezel, and for my ports, I have, let's see, make sure those are showing up. Got 2 USB-C, 2 USB-A, and for when I want to plug into this monitor back here, this is a 27-inch 1440. Also got the DisplayPort. I think at some point I'm also going to pick up the Ethernet, just in case I ever need that, and maybe there's something else that came to mind too. I thought about like the SD card reader stuff, but I already have a USB SD card thing, so I don't know. But Ethernet port's tempting, though I think the port selection I have right now does work pretty well for what I actually do. So yeah, as for performance, this CPU, even compared to my Ryzen 7 1700, that was a desktop CPU, high-end-ish, about 8 years ago, this destroys it. Core Ultra 5 125H absolutely destroys my Ryzen 7 1700. Also better than the Steam Deck for that matter, but yeah. I mean, shit, the Steam Deck single core performance is better than my Ryzen 7 1700. So yeah, as far as performance numbers and stuff, I'm going to switch over to screen capture instead because that'll make this a lot simpler. So be back in a sec. All right, so a couple other things I forgot to mention. One, this is the 120 hertz 2.8K display. So this is at 200% scaling, and text and everything super crisp. The high refresh rate is awesome. GNOME is buttery smooth under that. And the operating system, as you can already kind of see down here, this is my custom universal blue image. I call it Zella Blue because I'm terrible with names. And Axel Zell Blue, and I'm Zellicos on GitHub. It's not clever. It's really not, but yeah, works super well. No issues whatsoever. Now, as I mentioned before, let's go into benchmarks and stuff. I need to go to the Geekbench browser, and I had already run these benchmarks before. So yeah, as you can see here, the worst single core score that I got was on my Ryzen 7 1700 system at 993. Steam Deck single core, 1220, not bad, makes sense as well since it is Zen 2, I think, even though Geekbench for some reason recognized it as an Intel Pentium. I don't know why it recognized it that way, but it did. And then the Framework 13 single core performance, 2101, and I did run it plugged in. I think that does have an effect on performance, but that is the performance of it while it's plugged in. But yeah, Intel Core Ultra 5 125H, 2101 single core score on the Framework 13, and then the multi-core scores. So the Ryzen 7 1700, that did okay. It was the second best at 5487. And then the Framework 13 here, multi-core score of almost 10,000, 9986. So yeah, I know that my desktop was the CPU in that 8 years outdated, but oh my god, this is a beast of a laptop. Oh man. So yeah, I haven't really done gaming benchmarks much yet. If there's any more specific tests you guys want me to try out, do let me know. Like, I haven't done extensive battery life testing, for instance, but like, I don't have any specific numbers because I haven't really measured the battery life. But like, you know, it's not mind-blowing battery life, but I'm not usually far from an outlet, so it's not a big issue for me. But yeah, if you guys want, I'll probably do more specific battery life numbers. But I think other Linux-focused YouTubers have done that probably better than I would. Like, particularly, I want to shout out Elevated Systems. He's done a lot of videos on the framework. He covers Linux support pretty extensively as well. And I don't remember how much into it Nick from the Linux Experiment did, but he also had the AMD version. I don't know if Elevated Systems had the Intel Core Ultra version at all. But yeah, I don't know. I could do more specific battery life tests if you guys want. I'm open to suggestions. I definitely intend this to be more of like an introductory video to possibly more Framework 13 stuff. But yeah, overall, super happy with it. It is by far the nicest laptop I have ever owned, although with the second nicest being a Pinebook Pro, the bar is pretty low. But, you know, for me, it's really nice. Very, very nice. Great trackpad, great keyboard. And the screen is amazing. Just overall, been super happy with it. Do not regret buying it whatsoever, even though that Framework event is coming up on the 25th. And they might announce some even cooler stuff. Who knows? Maybe I'll regret it then, but I definitely don't right now. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to cover for this initial video. So again, if you guys have any suggestions for other things you want covered, any questions you want answered about my Framework 13, do let me know in the comments. But yeah, till next time, this has been Axel. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.